Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. This is a little bonus video. Jojo Magoo was in rare form here. Um, I'm uploading my video for today, but then this came in and it was just too good to. I thought I would put it out sooner than later. Well, let's get into it. So he's, I guess, coming out of the White House or something here, and he starts talking to reporters. And he, does the Jojo Magoo thing here.
Escalating in Ukraine. Why not engage with Russia in meaningful talks to try to de-escalate the whole situation in Ukraine? You're saying against 16, sir.
So he does this a couple of times here. He's doing this a lot more, where he just laughs. When he doesn't have an answer, he doesn't understand the question. He laughs in a mocking way, like that's just too stupid for me to answer. But, there are real questions, and they're about real things, and he's laughing at it and in a, mocking way that like he's better than the person asking and better than all the people listening. But he's clearly not, and clearly clueless.
Mr. President, weakened by what happened in
To what extent has Vladimir Putin been weakened by recent events? It's hard to tell, but he's clearly losing the war in Iraq.
And then he says he's clearly losing the war in Iraq. Breaking. Joe Biden says Putin's losing the war in Iraq. But how about the Ukraine? So then he just, does his classic flub here. There's a lot of times Bush has done this recently, but you can understand it more with Bush because, Bush had the whole Iraq war in his mind for years. But they keep on doing this. They keep on calling the Ukraine Iraq.
It's hard to tell, but he's clearly losing the war in Iraq. He's losing the war at home. And he has become a bit of a pariah around the world. And it's not just NATO. It's not just the European Union. It's Japan. It's 40 nations.
President Biden, how involved were you in your son's Chinese shakedown text message? Were you sitting there? Were you involved?
No, I wasn't, and I don't.
Were you?
No.
So it looks like he's chomping on his dentures are loose, right? Like he's talking like a guy who doesn't have his teeth in. He's, he does the fake laugh again, and then he shows sign of senility, and he snaps and yells no, right? After talking about how Putin's losing the war in Iraq, he goes over and has to answer the question about Hunter's text messages shaking down the Chinese company for money, saying his dad's sitting right next to him, and they better, or else his dad's going to do something. And then this is like this is Wednesday for Jojo Magoo.
Were you involved?
No, I wasn't, and I don't.
Were you?
No.
Do you think Vladimir Putin is weaker today than he was before all those events?
I know it was.
Will you give President Biden?
Will you get the worst of the inflation over?
Let me put it this way. I've been hearing every month it's going to be a recession next month. The consensus is 2/3 of the economists and the major leaders in the banks think we're not going to have a recession. I don't think we will either, but I tell you one thing.
So the guy is just mentally not competent, right? I mean, he's, we see this before, and now with Fetterman, like I cover Fetterman more because Fetterman, like is Fetterman. But like he's just not there. Like, this is a guy who's clearly breaking down mentally and physically, and everything he does here shows you like, what you associate with people who are, really old, in their 80s. And that's what he is. He's in his 80s. People in their late 70s. I mean, he's not spry or fresh or, I mean, any of these things. His hair's, he's got the Crypt Keeper mullet and his expressions. And I get overwhelmed. I mean, even as I get older, it gets harder to drive at night, for example. Your eyes aren't as good. You get overwhelmed by loud noises or whatever it is, right? As you get older, you can't handle, like you couldn't walk into some club or some nightclub where the music's blaring, and it's just it's overstimulating, right? Your body's much more sensitive. You can't eat certain foods, like you're much more sensitive to overeating or eating the wrong foods or well, your body just doesn't respond, right? Your body's wearing out, and the older you get, the more there is. The more you get confused by things, right? You can't hear as well, you can't see as well, you can't comprehend. You slow down. You're not as quick in your comprehension. You can have wisdom and things like this, but the older you get, your mind just breaks down completely. Especially now, the way that the allopathic medicine works and just keeps people alive and prolongs their death even after they're pretty much useless in terms of being able to work, right? Like, there's a farmer we used to get hay from, this guy named Badgett, who was 90 years old, and he used to work like he was a young, like a younger man. Like, he was still going, but like that's because he kept on doing his job. But people retire, they have no purpose anymore. They just sit around and they start to atrophy. And Joe Biden, I mean, that's happened to him, whether he's still working or not. They hide him away. He can't really perceive about what's going on around him. He just yells no at one reporter, and then like he confuses Iraq with the Ukraine. I mean, this is just what happens to you, and it's clearly happening to him. Anyways, just a quick update here. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely pointing from the Apocalypse and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.